personally, when I'm listening to podcasts, I like it to kind of just kick into it. But those are, yeah. So we could intro this show and then have a little chat session, and then try to get into a format as we figure it out.
Okay.
Okay.
This is just gonna be. How he just put like a little screen that says episode 1.
We gotta say it though, for the people listening.
Okay. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Welcome to Something Like Gaming, episode number 1. I'm Will.
I'm Matt. Schultz.
And we're gonna talk about something like gaming.
Yep, that's the plan.
So, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Feeling a little weird about having a camera going and the mics and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also excited about the possibility of being like 10 episodes, 20 episodes, 30 episodes down the line and being like, oh, remember when we first started?
Remember that back in yesteryear?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I guess we could kind of briefly talk about the things we're.
Oh, do you want to explain how this is going to go? What in our minds how this is going to go, so people know what to expect.
Right.
So
that's a good idea.
When they come on and they're listening to this,
yeah,
they're going to be like, oh, I want to stay, or oh, this sucks. Yeah.
So the initial format idea that I have is that we intro, then we kind of hit some of the major news that's happening for a week.
And I sweat when I touch the desk. That's my job.
Yes.
I just sweated on it. Like, literally.
I'm probably the same. No, I'm okay.
Nope.
I'm okay.
I can, and it's like, I can just be like...
Oh my god. I'm never sharing a controller with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so talk about some of the week's news. So we'll do weekly podcasts, talk about the week's news. Then we'll hit into talk about games that we're playing, games that we're looking forward to, that kind of thing. And then really aping from Game Over Greggy show.
Aping?
Yes.
What's that mean?
We're like kind of stealing their idea of bringing two topics to the table.
Because we're original!
Yeah, so we're going to steal those two. That idea, bring two topics. Try not to let the other person know about it. Probably, just in case, bring two of our own topics.
I only brought one.
Yeah. And
did you bring one?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So Matt lied, everybody.
Right. Then we'll talk about that, and then we'll wrap up. And then this is it might be difficult to get the first episode out on iTunes immediately because there might be an approval process to get the initial upload going.
Apple.
Oh, God.
Sorry. I mean, I love Apple. Yeah. Right down that time.
Right. 6.
I just have to say how I feel.
All right. So yeah, Apple, and then the video will go on iTunes, and then we're gonna play around with the format on that. Maybe doing the single episode, and then maybe doing a split out. Again, completely stealing from other people who have done this many more times than we have.
So it's not stealing; it's just general practice.
Right. That's true.
That's all it is.
So that's the idea, and then. Yeah, we'll just keep going every week and hopefully just get better at it and get a little more comfortable at this whole thing.
All for you. This is all for you, and actually a lot for us, just because it's kind of fun.
It's therapy.
Yep,
so
it's therapy.
Yeah, so I did, I guess we can just jump into the news, the things that I want to talk about.
Okay, I didn't think about news at all, so there's that. Well, this is week-old news or one-day-old news, depending on the news.
Yes, or this today.
Or today! That was this was yesterday.
Oh, it is?
I saw this yesterday.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, we're recording August 22nd, 2015.
Or are we?
Right. Yeah, it could be any day.
Could be any day, you don't know.
So the Nintendo has some crafty people have looked at and discovered a new patent application from Nintendo.
Where did they file this application?
I'm guessing
wasn't
the
it
US
like
patent office.
No, wasn't it like in Canada or freaking Brazil or something? I think it was in Brazil.
Oh, really?
Oh, I think it was in Brazil.
Okay. The main thing that it shows is a non-disc based system console.
Interesting.
No optical disc.
Interesting.
So I mean, this would be the same as filing a patent for like the next Game Boy, or there is no Game Boy anymore. The next
DS.
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 Yeah. So. But I thought that was interesting, just because I have the running theory that the next generation of consoles, if they do not abandon physical media, will most likely have some form of card-based or cartridge-based input for the games.
Wait. So you're saying that
if they don't go all
if
digital.
they don't do digital, or if they
digital
go if they go digital only, there will still be just like media cards.
No, that's what I'm saying is if they don't go digital only and there still is a physical media, that they could abandon the discs
and just do a media stick or like
a flash memory,
SD.
some sort of flash memory.
Yeah,
something, not necessarily SD.
Something like that though, like solid state.
Mm-hmm. And I mean the technology is there. It's possible to do it, and so the real question is. Because I still think that physical media will have its place, especially as game sizes continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
That is what. So, I don't know how I feel about this, because with this like idea, all of this is basically just like an idea in workflows. It's not even like this is what it looks like. It's like this is a thing we want to do. Like. Yeah. I don't know how next gen-y this will be, like next gen as in PS4 or Xbox One, if games will fit on SD cards, which there are games on PS4 that take like 20 gigs. Mm-hmm. That would be an expensive, I think it would be an expensive solid state piece of memory.
Yeah,
that I mean, they would be using.
And that's the thing is like I feel like the answer isn't necessarily in solid state, but there is that technology already to have a small cartridge that could be mass produced and used for.
What's it used in currently? What, like an example of that?
Well, I mean, so for instance, the flash chips that are put onto the MacBook Airs, right? I don't know a lot about them, but I do know that Apple's got a supply chain going for that already. And
so those are integrated chips though, not removable chips, which changes a lot, I think.
Well, but if you think about it, so I'm not thinking tiny SD size, like I'm thinking possibly cartridge size again.
Oh, okay.
Where the chip is on the cartridge has got a plastic casing around it and it's got pins. Cartridges.
Yeah.
So I think that could come back. And really the reason why is to help offset the growing size of games in digital and those big downloads and that kind of thing, to be able to front load the majority of the game by plugging that into the console, and that
or say plugging it into your handheld,
right?
Because that's what some people are thinking,
right? That
there's going to be a handheld device and then a home station as well that you could remove that and move it back and forth.
So the other reason why I think this is another possibility is just in that physical space, to go cheap with size on physical space. As these games get bigger, you're going with spinning hard drives still. Again, there is that cost of solid state, costs money.
Yep.
So going big with solid state costs even more money. So the digital only future, I still think, is a ways out, even after this generation, and that the stopgap will be in this form. And I think another benefit to it is the seek times of having something that's fixed is much faster.
It is a lot faster. So this will be their attempt, like halfway to digital only.
Yeah, and I think a big clue is, and I don't know how to read patents, but they show with this quote unquote memory card a first basic program and a second basic program. And one of the things I play around with, and my idea of what this could look like is
there are figs in this patent.
Right, is the idea
There's
that
one fig.
Just like you download patches for a game, downloading the patch to that cartridge, so that when you take that and you put it into another console, the patch is already there. You don't have to re-download it on it. That idea. But I don't know. But I thought that was an interesting piece of news. So, and it's just a patent. It could be for anything. It could be for something that's not necessarily even a console, but they do call it a game apparatus.
Okay. So. I don't know. Whenever I think of apparatuses, I think of dildos for some reason. That's like the classic, like in my mind, for some reason, something like that.
Yeah.
Because that's an apparatus.
Yeah. Well, I'm for me, apparatus means like,
or that thing that doctors hit your knee with,
like something with pulleys and like gears. Like that to me invokes apparatus. I feel like that's a term that sticks in the patent world because patents have existed since like the 1800s. So apparatus is just something they say. Because back in the day, it used to be ropes and pulleys, and they would, I don't know, but like, yeah, apparatus is kind of quaint.
Because like when you strap it on, it's like you got everything. Like you got your straps and pull winches, and you ratchet it down.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's what I think, at least.
Okay, so so that's that piece of news. And then the other thing I really thought that was interesting that came out this
More
week.
figs!
Yeah, is there's a company that's been founded recently called Fig, and I feel bad for this being the first podcast. I'm going to do a lot more prepping so that I have more to say about knowing about the company a bit more and that kind of thing. I do know that Tim Schafer and a few other people from Double Fine are the ones who launched this. But the concept of this is a way for people to crowdfund something, but also become investors in that thing, so that when
wait. So what's the story about? We skipped over that. I don't even know what we're talking about.
Good point. So basically, there's a company that came out called Fig. And
that Tim Schafer's involved with somehow.
Yeah, and it allows you to, just to kind of encompass the whole thing, to become son of a bitch.
Just keep going.
Okay, well
they'll drive away. They're in a motorcycle.
No, they're not. They're going to rev it for about an hour and a half. So that's my neighbors, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So anyways, essentially, you can become an investor in a crowdsourced, like say Kickstarter or something like that. And when that thing comes to fruition and exists as a product that is sold, you can, as that investor, potentially make some royalties off of it, essentially, and make money off of it.
Isn't that similar to Indiegogo, basically?
I'm not sure. This requires that you are a venture capitalist, essentially, that you've passed some tests that the government has to be able to call yourself that. And
that's
so
weird.
You can drop huge sums of money.
So are they going to facilitate that process? Is this supposed to be for the everyday person to get into?
They have something for that, and this is where I feel bad that I haven't researched it that much. But being this is for our first podcast, and it took us
there's motorcycles.
There's motorcycles. 2 hours to get going.
But you can also say, and there's motorcycles.
Right. But yeah, so the idea is that even a smaller guy can come in and do it if you know how to go through the hoops that the government has. And
if they help you through that process, that'd be cool. And I feel like Indiegogo is like this, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, it may be, but that's specifically for film, I believe.
This is?
No, Indiegogo. Right?
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
It's definitely not.
I must be thinking of something else.
Indiegogo's for all sorts of random junk phones, and I've seen watches on there and whatnot.
Yeah, so I think this is for bigger money.
Is this for games only? Or anything?
I think it's Kickstarter specifically. So it could be anything within that realm. So it's
anything. It's not one type of thing. It's not like Tim Schafer's games only.
And this is where people are probably yelling at the podcast right now because I've read it, but...
It says, thanks, Obama.
I know.
Baby steps.
Yeah, so... but that's the basic idea, is that you can contribute to a crowdsourced thing, and when it becomes a product, if it's successful, you could get part of the piece of that pie, essentially, as an investor.
That's cool.
Yeah.
If I wonder how they're going to help people through that process, and if they do, that'll be awesome because people will be like, yeah, that's cool, and I'd like to know what sort of products.
Well,
they're going to be allowing on. Is this going to be a more complicated process than Kickstarter to get on because of this whole process where you're having basically business partners? You're having business partners, not just people throwing money at you blindly.
Yeah. And the other part of it is, essentially there's government paperwork that you're probably going to have to fill out for taxes and all kinds of other things. But it's funny because I was thinking about it, and people have always complained about, one of the bigger complaints about Kickstarter is that if you contribute to something and it succeeds, you don't see any money for it.
Yeah, you get a box of junk, basically.
So people feel ripped off when something's successful, and they feel ripped off when something fails on Kickstarter, which is a weird thing to feel.
Yeah.
Because I hear that a lot, but it may just be the louder part of the internet just complaining about it. But to me, this is even more getting burned, right? Because you're going to put money into it, basically thinking that you're dealing with a sure thing or hoping that it's a sure thing.
Yeah.
And if it fails...
What happens if it doesn't get funded? Did you get that far?
No. I don't know.
Right.
Well, if it's crowdsourced, if it doesn't... that's a good question. I don't know.
I wonder if it's different for this.
Yeah. See,
I'll stop asking all these questions that we don't know the answers to.
I don't know the answers. I'm
going to say that they send you a birthday card and say, sorry, didn't happen. That's it.
But yeah, so that's that's a new thing, and these guys are starting to jump into that idea. But to me, another concern is that if this starts to happen, particularly with games, how is this different? Is it better than the way the publisher developer model of gaming? Like, could this end up being worse for games?
Doing all the crowdfunding?
Not crowdfunding. That you could have a venture capitalist or somebody else that's not necessarily a publisher who's done it time and time again. Come in and say, well, here's some money. Now I feel like I have a stake in it and I have more of a say in it. I think you should do this or that.
I think they'll control that. They have to control that and say when you're signing up for the service that you aren't allowed any sort of opinion, or they'll tell you what you can and cannot do when you are getting into this service.
I just know that like with venture capital, that's exactly the opposite of that. When somebody's giving you money, they have a lot of say in what you do.
That's true when it is a venture capitalist, but I feel it would have to be different. It would just have to be different. Like instead of like donation levels, it's like how much you get to say levels. Like that'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, but I feel like this has the potential to. It's funny because they use the term crowdsource. There's this idea that it's the people.
Yeah.
But this starts to take away the voice of like it's the fans. They basically get to help make people who already have money more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing about a pure kickstarted thing or a pure crowdsourced thing is that supposedly, in this idealistic way of looking at it, you're putting money towards something that you love, and you get to watch those people succeed with it and grow from that. This has kind of a different effect where, they get to grow and possibly get a little bit of money or wealthy off of it, or keep their company alive. But then there's also these side people over here that you got to kind of foot a part of the bill, but now you don't get anything just like before, but now these other guys get something out of it. So it creates this weird thing. But I could see, like, if I invested $1 billion, that's a lot of money, $1 million into something, I might want to promote it. So, like, kind of the missing thing with a lot of these Kickstarter things is that they exist and it's an indie game and it comes out and nobody knows about it. But if people have an investment in it, more of their real money in it, like the big amounts of money, I might be more prone to try to promote it in some way, or I might already have a marketing company that I can kind of use to promote that thing.
You have a marketing company?
If I have $1 million,
he doesn't have a marketing company,
right? But if I have $1 million in a marketing company, because I'm already a guy who invests in things, like I could see this almost reshaping the gaming industry into something almost the same as what it is now, but in a different, like a weird amalgamation of like something.
Yeah, but due to the fact that the people that play the games are the ones that are going to be deciding. Still, that's what it is. It still comes down to them. They are the ones deciding if it's going to be made or not. Right. Typically, there still might be some really rich dude that's like, yeah, that's gonna make me a lot of money, and then he just gives them $1 million. That could happen. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's still going to be like a bunch of people that are like, yeah, that's a good idea because I play that type of game and I know that would be successful.
Right.
They'd be like, I have some money. I'm not broke, so I'll drop $1,000 on it.
Yeah. And
maybe I'll get some of that back. Yeah. I think it'll be better than publishers that are sitting in. I don't know why. It's just like I see a bunch of people with monocles and like cigars and basically mad men just sitting in a boardroom. They're like, no, that sucks because he said so.
Yeah.
No. And for no just arbitrary reasons, but. I think it's probably I don't know. I don't know how successful this will be. I think if it is successful, it'll generally be good when a game gets like successfully funded.
Yeah. I mean, I just worry about the voice, like how much of a shape they can have on it, and potentially the crowdsourced side of it funds something they're expecting. Kind of like how people are feeling a little burned about Mighty Number 9 when they see the artwork. And then they see the end result, and it's not what they imagined, which is part of the game development process anyways, and why, it's better to market a game once you're finished so that people get a taste of the actual thing. But I feel like people could kickstart something, could back something. These people could come in with their money, and then they have a little bit more say in the end result, and it ends up being something that the original backers didn't.
Yeah,
didn't
it just
think
it depends if they allow that. If in signing up for the service they say you can or cannot do that, then that'll be a big. You're right. That'll have a lot of impact. It just depends if they allow that or not.
Yeah.
If they allow the fact of like, getting your voice heard more if you give more money to the funding of it.
I'm getting more and more hyped about Super Mario Maker, and I'm feeling it.
Where do you feel it?
I feel it all over.
I feel it. If I was to feel it, I'd feel it in my whale bones.
You're
but my Wii U sitting in my closet.